7 Bad Money Habits Keeping You Poor, lessons reflected in the principles of Warren Buffett. Most people believe poverty is an income problem. It isn't. It's a behavior pattern. Money doesn't disappear randomly. It flows according to habits. And certain habits, repeated quietly over years, make wealth mathematically impossible. The difference between those who build wealth and those who stay stuck is rarely intelligence. It is discipline. Let's break down 7 habits that consistently keep people poor, habits that run directly against the principles of long-term wealth building. 1. Spending before saving. Most people operate with this formula. Income minus expenses equals savings. And that equation almost guarantees nothing will be saved, because spending expands to fill available income. There is always something else to buy, something else to upgrade, something else that feels justified. But the wealth equation works differently. Income minus savings equals expenses. That shift sounds simple, but psychologically it changes your entire identity. One of the clearest financial principles ever stated is, do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. Why does this matter? Because wealth is not built by intention. It's built by structure. If saving depends on discipline, you will fail when emotions are high. If saving is automatic and first, you remove emotion from the equation. The wealthy don't trust willpower. They build systems. Paying yourself first forces capital accumulation. And without capital, you cannot invest. Without investing, you cannot compound. Without compounding, you cannot scale. Spending first feels natural, but it guarantees stagnation. 2. Carrying high-interest debt. High-interest debt is financial gravity. It pulls you downward even when you are trying to climb. Credit cards often carry interest rates near 20%. That means if you don't pay them off immediately, you are effectively investing at negative 20%. Imagine trying to build wealth while something compounds against you at that rate. It's mathematically exhausting. There's a reason this warning has been repeated clearly. If I borrowed money at 18% or 20%, I'd be broke. That statement is not about fear. It's about arithmetic. Compounding is powerful, but it works both ways. When it works for you, it builds wealth. When it works against you, it erodes it quietly. Debt also damages psychology. It reduces flexibility. It increases stress. It limits decision-making freedom. You can't take risks. You can't invest confidently. You can't wait patiently because payments are due. And urgency kills strategic thinking. Wealth requires optionality. Debt removes optionality. 3. Not investing early. Time is the most underestimated asset in wealth building. Not capital, not intelligence, not connections. Time. Compounding requires duration. When money earns returns and those returns earn returns, exponential growth begins slowly, then accelerates. But here's what most people misunderstand. The early years matter more than the later ones. A person who invests modestly at 25 and stops at 35 often ends up with more wealth than someone who invests aggressively starting at 35, because the first investor gave compounding more time. This principle has been acknowledged clearly. My wealth has come from a combination of living in America, some lucky genes, and compound interest. Compound interest is not exciting. It is boring. It requires patience. But it is mathematically relentless. Waiting 5 or 10 years feels harmless, but it dramatically increases the effort required later. Time cannot be negotiated, and once lost, it cannot be recovered. 4. Trying to get rich quick. Impatience is expensive. The desire for fast results leads to speculation, hot stocks, trending assets, insider tips, viral opportunities. The problem is not ambition. The problem is impatience. The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. This principle extends beyond stocks. It applies to wealth in general. When you chase rapid gains, you abandon discipline. You overtrade. You panic. You exit early. You enter late. Wealth is rarely built from excitement. It is built from consistency, long-term ownership, rational evaluation, measured decisions. Speculation creates emotional swings, and emotional volatility destroys compounding. Slow and steady is not glamorous, but it is effective. 5. Ignoring self-investment. Your earning ability is your primary asset. If your income is capped, your investing capacity is capped. If your skills stagnate, your income stagnates. One of the most powerful wealth principles is simple: the best investment you can make is in yourself. Why? Because skills compound, knowledge compounds, communication compounds. The ability to analyze risk improves returns. The ability to negotiate increases income. The ability to remain calm prevents costly mistakes. Self-investment increases your internal rate of return. And unlike market returns, no one can take it from you. People often focus only on financial capital, but human capital determines financial capital. Neglecting personal growth guarantees limited expansion. 6. Living to impress others. Lifestyle inflation quietly traps high earners. Income rises, so expenses rise. A bigger home, a newer car, more visible upgrades. It feels like progress. But if lifestyle scales with income, net wealth remains flat. There is a reason some of the wealthiest individuals maintain modest lifestyles, because capital retained today becomes capital compounding tomorrow. If you buy things you don't need, soon you will have to sell things you need. Consumption for status creates fragility. Wealth requires durability. The goal is not to look wealthy, it is to be wealthy, and those are different outcomes. 7. Not understanding what you invest in. Blind investing creates avoidable risk. Following trends without research. Buying assets you cannot explain. Copying others without understanding. Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. Volatility is not risk. Ignorance is risk. When you understand what you own, temporary downturns do not shake you. But when you invest blindly, every fluctuation feels threatening. And fear leads to poor decisions. Wealth requires conviction. Conviction requires understanding. Without understanding, you are gambling, not investing. Final perspective: none of these habits feel catastrophic. That's why they persist. Spending first, carrying debt, delaying investing, chasing speed, avoiding self-growth, inflating lifestyle, investing blindly. Each one seems manageable, but repeated over decades, they mathematically prevent wealth. Wealth is not mysterious. It is behavioral consistency aligned with compounding. It requires patience, discipline, rational thinking, and above all time. Change the habits, and the math changes. Keep the habits, and the outcome stays predictable. Because money is not random. It follows behavior, and behavior repeated long enough becomes destiny.